bag in my right hand, tray in my left, clearing the corner booth, end of my shift. I wipe the tarnished zinc countertop, reflecting the street lamps outside, keeping my head down, letting my focus slide. 2 silver spoons, 2 plates, pastry flakes on the wood. I do my job exactly like I should. I stack the saucers up porcelain on glass, watching through the window as the two of you pass. I touch the heavy ceramic cup, still warm on one side, facing the empty chair. My thumb rests on the rim, where your fingers were just there. You stop by the door to let her out first, your winter collar slipping off your shoulder. I open my mouth to speak, I almost called your name, almost told you your coat is dragging on the wet floor. But that would mean saying hello, that would mean looking at her hand. So I swallowed the sound, and I went back to the zinc. The tray is full now, the table is bare. No one would guess that you were ever there. Just this crumpled paper receipt, stained with coffee, the only physical proof you sat in this room. I carry it over to the bin, let it fall in.
Shoulder to shoulder at 7 a.m. Polished brass grab rail sticky with condensation. I lock my knuckles around it, keeps me from drifting across the aisle. You flip to chapter 4. Four short stations. I pull the folded newspaper up to my eyes, safe behind yesterday's weather, watching you read in the margins. A grey coat bumps your shoulder. I almost move, almost offer you this seat, just a nod, but that means breaking our comfortable silence. So I stay put, dig the yellow paper ticket from my coat, fold it precisely into a sharp triangle, give my empty hand a job. Short stations. I pull the folded newspaper up to my eyes, safe behind yesterday's weather, watching you read in the margins. home. Look out the opposite glass.
Past midnight, the hinges groan. 3 heavy paces across the pine, he stops. The plaster crack branches directly beneath where he drops his boots. The left one hits the floor. I hold my breath, waiting for the right. There it is. No lighter steps clicking behind him. The uneven arithmetic of a man by himself. I weigh the second boot against the first. He walked home alone again. I trace his path from the hallway to the mattress. My thumb rubs the frayed cord of the unlit bedside lamp. I leave the bulb cold sight ruins the sound. The broom handle leans against the floral wallpaper. I could reach for it. Lift it up. Tap the handle against the ceiling. Make him pause his pacing. Let him know I'm down here. I leave the wood untouched in the corner. No lighter steps clicking behind him. The uneven arithmetic of a man by himself. I weigh the second boot against the first. He walked home alone again. I trace his path from the hallway to the mattress. Settle. The river in the plaster fades into the black. His weight is off the wood. I let go of the frayed cord. Close my eyes.
Francs the copper scattered on the glass. I fold the brown paper, let the seconds pass. My thumb rests heavy on the brass register key, worn smooth from pressing it so slowly. Halfway through the paperback, the dog-eared page, I left it in the dark, right against the glue. I almost pointed out, turn to page 42. But if I speak, I lose the Tuesday version of you. You slide the novel in your faded leather bag. Your scarf catches softly on a splintered snag. I hand you the receipt, I let my fingers stall. You nod your thanks, but don't look up at all. Halfway through the paperback, a dog-eared page, I left it in the dark, right against the glue. I almost pointed out, turned to page 42. But if I speak, I lose the Tuesday version of you. Here is your change, the silver falls in your glove. The twine is tight, tight, the spine is completely shut. I swallow the number. I just let you walk away with the cut. You turn from the counter, you cross the wooden floor. The swinging brass bell hits the glass door. It rattles, then just the dust once more. Cold draft comes under the lobby doors. Grey wool soaked right through the shoulders. I brush a fleck of white ash off the lapel. Heavy wooden hanger groans under the wet wool. Just a faint trace of pipe, tobacco on the collar, mixed with the dirty rain of the avenue. You're in the dark watching the second act. I sit out here guarding an empty sleeve. My fingers trace the lining of the right pocket. I keep the folded paper out of it. You'd only toss it with the crumpled playbill, so I just smooth the damp fabric down. Just a faint trace of pipe, tobacco on the collar, mixed with the dirty rain of the avenue. You're in the dark, laughing at the final act. I sit out here, guarding an empty sleeve. Breast number 42, cutting into my palm. My hand is sweating, trying to keep the metal warm. It's the only thing that brings you to this desk. This piece of brass is the only reason you come back.
the plaster wall. I step back from the rack. I leave it hanging perfectly straight, exactly as it was.
6 o'clock, the brass bell shakes. I dust the white flour from my hands. You push the glass door, letting in the damp air. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. One almond croissant, always one. Today you point twice, deux, s'il vous plaît, two. I swallow hard, tasting copper and yeast. White flour dust settles on my dark apron, just a ghost against the morning light. I reach for the silver tongs with a steady grip. I slide them in side by side. Watch the butter leave grease spots on the white paper bag. Two of them pressed together in the dark. My lips part to catch the air. My tongue touches my teeth. I just fold the corner down tight. Voila. I say nothing else. I hand you the weight of another mouth to feed. The door swings shut, the brass bell dies. I stand alone at the counter. My heavy wooden rolling pin rests on the block. A blunt piece of ash, just a tool for a man who gets up at 4 in the dark, while someone else stays warm in your sheets. The white bag is crossing the street, through the glass climbing your stairs. I grip the iron handle of the stove, pull it open, let the fire rush out. I turn my face to the oven heat, turn my back to the window pane, blinking in the red glare, just checking the bread, just checking the bread.
Friday rain, 4 o'clock, shaking off your coat, spine perfectly straight against the plaster. Room 15, standing at the ruined church. I watch the fallen spire inside your eyes. Scuffed black shoe shifts on the polished hardwood, half-inch scrape to measure out the quiet. You trace the broken stones across the frame. I lock my hands behind my back and breathe. A crimson velvet rope slung low keeps you from the canvas, keeps me on the wall. We both stare at the ash on the altar, neither of us looking left or right. know the way he mixed the shadows there. I step up to the line, I open my mouth, swallow all the dates and hold my breath. A crimson velvet rope slung low keeps you from the canvas, keeps me on the wall. We both stare at the ash on the altar, neither of us looking left or right. Against the damp, footsteps fading down the hall. I adjust my uniform collar and step back into the wall.
Dust motes swimming in the afternoon, mahogany shadow, I hit the A. Let the vibration hang in the empty room, hit it again, listen to the sway. Just a clock ticking on the mantelpiece. I could pull the pin tight, bring it all into line, strike the whole chord, let it ring out clean. But a flawless room is a room you lock, a perfect house doesn't need a man like me. My wrench turns a fraction to the left, just a breath against the grain. The A string trembles, ringing slightly flat, not enough to jar, just enough to catch. Maybe next week, maybe the 9th. I could pull the pin tight, bring the brass into line, strike the whole chord, let it ring out clean. But a flawless room is a room you leave, a perfect house doesn't call for a man like me. The red velvet wedge sits on your music stand, right where you'll see it when you sit down. I pack up the felt, the leather roll snaps shut with a click. My hour is up. Note waiting in the dark for your hands. I hit the A. See you in a week.
birthday box from lion smells of cardboard. I slide the import in its plastic outer sleeve. The static clings, it sticks right to my fingers. A stupid friction fighting on my skin. I peel it off and drop the record in. He always checks the second row. A heavy coat against the winter chill. He breathes the dust, he moves so slow. I placed it there. I keep my body still. He steps inside, I drop my shoulders low. I duck down fast behind the unsold stacks. The faded cardboard bin against my spine. A physical shield so he won't see me look. I hear the paper rustle, he took the hook. He always checks the second row. A heavy coat against the winter chill. He breathes the dust, he moves so slow. He brings it up, I keep my body still. The stylus needle rests upon the platter, suspended heavy, waiting for the drop. He counts his coins, I slide them in the till. My throat goes tight, the register slams shut. Keep quiet. Don't say I got this just for you. Just hand him the receipt. Bell hits the glass, the shop breeze out. I walk around the counter, the second row has nothing left to hold. I take a rag, I wipe the dust out of the empty bin.
Blue canvas spread across my knees. You shift your weight by the open frame. I look at the wooden chair in the dark. If I point to it right now, you'd sit and watch my hands too closely. You'd see me counting out every motion. So I let you stand in the cold. The rusted metal spoke, needle slips. It pricks my thumb, a sharp red bead. A sudden sting to keep my focus tight. I grab the heavy iron scissors instead. They dull against the thick cotton thread. Takes 3 heavy pulls to sever the knot. I let it take 3 heavy pulls.
Listen to the tin roof rattle. A pool of rainwater forms at the door threshold. Every drop in the mud is a second I keep. Pour harder on the cracked cobblestones. Wash out the long streets. Flood the gutters so you have to stay. I pull a final stitch. I pull it tight. The canvas snaps taut perfectly round. And just like that, the tin roof dies. The puddle stops its trembling. A sliver of sun cuts across the floor. The avenue is quiet. I fold the blue canopy down. Wipe the blood from my thumb.
I hand it back to you. The brass chime rings on your way out.
Tuesday at 6. The fluorescents hum on the tiles. You breathe against the glass partition. Half an inch of thick acrylic between my till and your coat. Your collar's pulled up tight. Your skin the color of ash. You slide a crumpled paper prescription, slip bearing a doctor's signature under the gap. A 50 milligram excuse for why you cannot sleep. I press the date down hard on the box. The green ink stamp smears slightly on the cardboard. It dries crooked on the white edge. Not the winter front bringing on this ache, monsieur. Just a heavy silence in your own kitchen. Just the shadow of a suitcase by the hall door. Tap water won't fix a house that is splitting in two. The register snaps open, 3 coins. I don't drop them in the little plastic tray. I reach beneath the cutout slot. I touch the back of your hand when giving the change. Your knuckles are freezing. You just stare at the floor. Not the winter front bringing on this ache, monsieur. Just a heavy silence in your own kitchen. Just the shadow of a suitcase by the hall door. Tap water won't fix a house that is splitting in two. The shop bell rings. You step out into the damp street. The fog swallows your shoulders first, then your gray coat, then the a smeared green date, leaving me under the fluorescent light.
The engine shakes this thick glass porthole. I press my forehead against the heat, tilt the lens down a millimeter, just to spill some silver on your velvet seat. This 35 millimeter is smudged, reeks of sharp vinegar and baked in dust. I thread the teeth, I drop the latch, watching your shoulders rise in the dark below. I pull the match blade down, let the beam bleed past the edge. A halo slips from the hero's face to settle quiet in your hair. I hand you the light from upon the ledge. My hand hovers on the brass dimmer. Throw it early, the whole room goes flat and bright. You'd blink up at the booth, you'd see me, but I'd kill the shadows you bought for tonight. I pull my fingers back, I pull the matte plate down, let the beam bleed past the edge. A halo slips from the hero's face to settle quiet in your hair. I hand you the light from upon the ledge. The soundtrack swells through the floorboards. You wipe your cheek in the gloom. I push the arc lamp to the breaking point, burning the dust just to reach across the room. Credits roll, the shutter snaps, heavy metal rewinder spinning at high speed, whipping the dark, taking the story back.
Amber lamp flashing on the grid. Fast, he always hates to wait. My left hand knows the route by feel. Heavy brass jack resting in my palm. I find the one socket
just numbers, never hello. I patch him through to her street. Hold the circuit open wide. Ghost inside the buzzing hive. Red fabric cord across the board. Frayed at the edge, a broken thread. The click connects them in the dark. 2 seconds of breath in my ear. I pull my headset back, give them the room. Montmartre fought too, he says. The brass plug heavy in its place. I patch him through to her street. Hold the circuit open wide. Feeding him across the town. A half-inch toggle switch. One flick down in his laugh. Drop them into the dead air. My thumb rests on the joint. Let him finish. Just to hear him speak. The light goes flat. They're done. I close my fist around the brass. Pull it clean from the wall. Empty socket. Quiet room.
Same damp stone on this grey street. The canvas strap digs a rut in my shoulder. I pull the seal blue airmail from the bag. Jagged ink pressed hard enough to tear. You haven't bought a stamp in a year. I count the dust settling on your steps. He writes from a hole in the freezing mud. You take the paper and go back to bed. I stood on the bridge over the river today, held a thin blue envelope out to the wind. I could open my hand, let the water take his prayers, save him the waiting. But it's not my war to end. I slide his whole life through the slot in your door. The stiff brass spring snaps shut in the dark. He empties his veins and you don't even look. I bleed in the dirt for half of what you leave on the floor. The snap echoes in your empty hall. I shift the canvas back onto the bruise. Turn my collar up. Next home, next door.
Cut a white towel from the finished pile, matched the corners, held it to my chest. It's radiating sudden heavy heat. I close my eyes, I let it warm my neck. He opens up a cracked spine paperback. I roll the laundromat token on my thumb. The little printed soap logo rubs smooth. It drops, I buy my hour in the hum. Machine number 4, machine number 5, humming through the linoleum, side by side. The steam builds up behind the vibrating glass. My yellow skirts, his faded Oxford shirts. Through the fogged up lens, the colors bleed. You can't quite tell which fabric belongs to who. For 45 minutes in the humid heat. His buzzer sounds, the heavy cycle ends. He pulls the damp load out into the cart. The shirts fall into wrinkles on the wire. I take a step, I look down at my hands. I grip the edges of my basket hard. He slings his canvas duffel on his back. He slips the yellow marker in his book. The bell above the street door rings and dies. The linoleum is scuffed and gray. The fluorescent bulb flickers in the back. I still have 30 minutes on the dial. I listen to the rhythm of the belt. The draft comes rushing in across the floor. I sit back on the yellow plastic chair. My machine is on the final rinse. I stare straight at the spinning empty glass. Just water whipping round and round the dark. The condensation fades away to clear.
2 a.m. I press a clean cloth into the desk, smelling of lemon polish, rubbing a shadow out of the grain. Because you just walk through the glass doors, staring at your shoes. I straighten my spine, tuck the rag in my pocket. I slide the heavy brass key fob across the marble counter, cold from sitting all night on the stone. My hand leaves the metal, your fingers take the weight. We don't talk about the late hour, we don't talk about the quiet upstairs. Wooden pigeonhole 32 gathering dust behind me. Nothing but a dry cleaner's receipt inside. Yesterday afternoon, your makeup ran down your cheeks by the velvet sofa. I took one step forward, stopped, turned my back and stacked the morning papers. I slide the heavy brass key fob across the marble counter, cold from sitting all night on the stone. My hand leaves the metal, your fingers take the weight. We never talk about the late hour, we never talk about the quiet upstairs. The elevator doors shut, just me and the lobby clock. I turn around, hang the spare silver keys on the board, wait for tomorrow.
Hair's heavy back heel damp. You're pacing the glass, checking your screen. I grab these rusted gardening shears. The loose spring catches the meat of my palm, pinches the skin on every cut. I let it bite, holding a long, thick red rose stem. Thumb down the spine, stripping it bare of its thorns. Can't have her scratching those delicate wrists when she takes you back. Make it look like I'm sorry, you said, leaning on my counter, smelling like the rain. So I pick the freshest buds, the expensive ones, buying your way back inside. Arrange the forgiveness you need, trim the stems, balance the weight in the glass, selling you the perfect alibi, wrapped up in paper, watching you pass. I make it beautiful, just like you asked. The centerpiece lily is heavy and white, and my thumb finds the joint where the heavy stalk bends, and I'm pressing the fibers, I'm watching them strain, just a millimeter from where the stem ends. I brush the petals smooth, set it dead center, not a single crease. My work is always flawless. Arrange the forgiveness you need, trim the stems, balance the weight in the glass, selling you the perfect alibi, wrapped up in paper, watching you pass. I make it beautiful, perfect tide. 50 euros.
Worn leather steering wheel, sticky with humidity. Stale smoke blowing from the dash. Cut the cracked rearview mirror, angled specifically toward the back seat through the broken glass. You sitting dead quiet in the amber glow. The glowing green meter box clicking relentlessly. 30 francs, 40 rolling down the avenue. I steer around the grates so the ride stays easy. Just a ghost in the front row driving you. A street light catches the wet on your cheek. Got a clean handkerchief folded in my coat. I shift my weight, I clear my throat, but both hands stay locked on the 10 and the 2. I just watch the raindrops blurring the view. The glowing green meter box clicking relentlessly. 50 francs, 60 gliding down the avenue. I take the smooth lane so the ride stays easy. Just a ghost in the front row driving you. Rue des Martyrs, number 44. Tires hush against the wet cobblestone. I brake so soft it doesn't bump the door. You gather your collar, you're going up alone. Clicks shut, the pavement is bare. My palms peel off the sweaty rim. I reach across and turn the meter blind. Nothing in the mirror left behind.
Stand still. The dust is catching in the three-way glass. Turn your heel to the window, please. This dark wool fold settles heavy right across my knee. A good weight for a winter vow. I smooth the crease down calf. You watch the collar in the mirror, your chin lifted clear over my head, checking the width of the lapel. You haven't looked down since you walked in. Silver pin caught delicate between my lips. Cold steel keeping my jaw locked tight. blue chalk triangle crumbling on the floorboards. I draw the line right where you step. You shift your weight to cross it. My hand hovers low by your shoe. I could tap the needle's point against your ankle bone, just enough to make you flinch. No, a drop of red ruins my meticulous work. One silver pin pressed delicate between my lips, cold steel keeping the words locked in. If I gasp, I lose the measurement. I breathe through my teeth, keep my head bowed, and let you admire the man she gets. The pins are set, every crease is pressed, every raw edge bound flat. You are flawless for the altar. I pull the cotton spool tight from the cuff. Catch the thread in my teeth and bite it clean in half.
Bells at the cathedral, 3 o'clock. Wind pulling at the wool of your coat. You stare past my shoulder, keeping still. My right thumb is entirely black now, smudging the shadow beneath your cheekbone. Tomorrow the runway lifts you up, but today I lock you in the grain. Every line I press into this page stays exactly as you are. I keep the dust, you keep the face. The vine charcoal crumbles in my fist, pushing too hard on the line of your neck. You check your watch, turning to the left. I scratch my signature across your paper cheek. Just another cheap stop on your tour. Tomorrow the runway lifts you up, but today I lock you in the grain. Every line I press into this page stays exactly as you are. I keep the dust, you keep the face. You don't see the translation conversation happening here. You just see a clever trick of the wrist. I am pinning you to the years before the sky takes you back home. I blow the loose dust off the edge. I roll the heavy parchment into a tube. Tie it off with a piece of string. There, have a safe flight.
Desks to my left. 30 bells ring at the end of the line. I listen to the wax cylinder spin. You dictate regarding the recent decline. I strike the keys, marching right in step with your breath. You always clear your throat before, sincerely. The top page is crisp, bone white and ready for your ink. I am the blue carbon paper underneath, staining my right thumb, a messy smudge on your official word. You pause when you lose the thread. I already know the noun, I sit and wait. The metal M catches on the bar, takes a heavy finger to make it print. Management, margin. I push the iron down into the ribbon. You think you spoke that weight, I gave it to you. The letter ends, 3 blank lines left, just enough room at the bottom of the page. 10 keystrokes. I let my fingers hover over the vowels. If they fall, I pack my coat and leave at 5. I type out Thursday's date. I roll the carriage back, pull the paper free, drop it in the wire tray. 50 white pages burying the afternoon. I tap the edges against the wood, perfectly straight. I tap them perfectly straight.
Same clicking heels upon the lobby slate. You step into my box of smelling oil. The heavy iron recording gate clanging shut leaves nothing but the motor and the coil. I do not speak, you stare at the floor grate. The 30-second start, I bear the weight. The warm brass lever handle in my grip, polished bright by my hand in the gloom. Dark mahogany wood panels vibrate slightly From the heavy cables humming in the room, 30 seconds in machine oil and perfume. Floor number 4, the motor runs so warm, my knuckles whiten on the guiding rod. One yank backwards kills the turning wheel. We'd hang suspended in the quiet dark. Your fingers tighten on your velvet coat. I keep the engine rolling to your mark. The worn brass lever handle in my grip, polished bright by my hand in the gloom. Dark mahogany wood panels vibrate slightly from the heavy cables humming in the room. 30 seconds in machine oil and perfume. Floor number 7, now the motor sighs. I slide the lever back to let you through. You step into the hallway, walking straight. The heavy iron accordion gate clanging shut takes away the lingering scent of you. The wood goes still, the cable drops its tune. I wait here for tomorrow afternoon.
Fluorescent buzz, 6 o'clock rain. This glass box smells of coffee and exhaust. Thousands of passing fingernails left scars on this scratched metal tray. I am just a sleeve in the gray. The blue sedan pulls to the line. You don't look at my face, just my coat. I know the rhythm of your wrist. I know the shadow on your throat. You reach out and the evening shifts. The cold silver franc piece drops down. Skin meets skin. I close my fist before the draft gets in. Warming up in my enclosed palm. I could hold on to your hand 1 second too long. Let the horns blare. The driver stare, but I pull back my arm. The wooden barrier slowly lifts. Two red taillights reflect off the wet asphalt. I trace the ridges of the coin. It loses your temperature fast. The next car pulls up in the mist. The cold silver franc piece drops down. Skin meets skin. I close my fist before the draft gets in. Warming up in my enclosed palm. I could hold on to your hand 1 second too long. Let the horns blare. Let the driver stare. But I pull back my arm. I'm counting the silver in the dark. I am counting the silver while you fade. You don't even know my name. You just leave me the change. The mist swallows the road. My fingers freeze again. Bonsoir, monsieur.
A crushed cigarette butt, drowning in a sidewalk puddle, fades with the taillights at the end of the street. I'm pacing the alley, stamping my frozen feet, keeping the door to a basement retreat. Could leave the alley, walk inside, and sit in the front row. Let the velvet heat melt off the snow. But my job is the frost, I belong out here, keeping the pavement quiet and clear. Solid red brick wall, vibrating with the bass notes through 3 feet of stone. The melody flows, I press my spine, I trace a face, a phantom touch in this freezing space. I don't see the stage, I don't need the light. I got a voice in the dead of the night. Sky opens up, giving no retreat. Heavy black wool overcoat dusted with fresh sleet. I swallow the winter, I carry the weight, so she stays safe behind the iron gate. Could drop the chain, step into the glow, walk inside and sit in the front row. But my job is the frost, I belong out here, anchoring the dark while the sky goes clear. Solid red brick wall, vibrating with the bass notes through 3 feet of stone. The melody floats, I press my spine, I trace her face, a phantom touch in this freezing space. I don't see the stage, I don't need the light. I got her voice in the dead of the night. Up the octave, the mortar hums. My hands are numb, but the fever comes. It travels the alley, it sinks in my bones. A private performance in gravel and stones. The final chord rings, muffled and slow. Applause bleeds up from the basement below. I turn my collar up against the sleet, just me and the shadow holding the street.
Room 4 is breathing slow, the ivy drips. I smooth the cotton edge across her hips. The linoleum is cold beneath my shoes. Down the corridor, there's nothing left to do. The metal carts are locked against the wall. I follow the quiet humming down the hall. The ceiling tube is buzzing, half alive. It throws a stuttered shadow on your eyes. You held the line, you fought the clock till 2. Now the clipboard's down, it's only you. Scratchy blanket on the chair, folded on the plastic, waiting there. You usually tell me when a pulse is gone. Now you're just breathing with your glasses on. My wool sweater's heavy on my wrist. I let it drop. We don't exist like this. The ceiling tube is buzzing, half alive. It throws a stuttered shadow on your eyes. You held the line, you fought the clock till 2. Now the clipboard's down, it's only you. I pull a styrofoam cup from the stack. The pot is lukewarm, tasting bitter black. I lean against the doorframe, block the light. No one walks into this room tonight. No one walks into this room